Hey everyone, Alan Walker here. I want to talk a little bit more about investor mindset, and I want to talk about a stumbling block that many of us have when it comes to investing, and that is frequency exposure. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's say you buy a stock. You put $1,000 into Robinhood, you bought some stock, and every single day you were going into Robinhood and you were looking at that value. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? If it's gone down, should I sell? If it's gone up, should I sell? You're constantly wondering about this and you're spending all of this mental energy on trying to figure out what's happening. But really, what's happening is you are fatiguing yourself about this investment. And that usually, almost always, leads to poor decisions when it comes to that investment. So, for example, I have 13 rental doors, and I am planning on holding all my doors for at least 10 years or more, right? So when I'm looking at the values of those properties, I do it every month. I do my net worth statement, and I go to Redfin. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not Zillow, right? So I go to Redfin, I pull all my values, I just put them into my net worth sheet. Now, I don't really care if the value of a house that I'm not going to sell for another 10 years goes up or down in value month to month, right? That doesn't make any sense because what I care about is the long-term rolling average of what that price is, right? Prices tend to trend up, especially over a 10-year period, right? So I'm not freaking out. I'm not spending all this time worried about like, well, it was 600 last year or last month, and now it's only 595. Like, oh my gosh, that is called frequency exposure, right? If you're checking it too often and you're too worried about every time you check it, you're too worried about this. I see this in crypto all the time, right? When I first started in crypto back in 2013, and just for the record, I didn't keep all my Bitcoin. I would probably not be working anymore if I was, but I didn't, so that's okay. But if what I was doing is I was looking at it so often that it was freaking me out, and it was causing me to panic, just because like if there were slight variations, like crypto is volatile, right? Stocks can be volatile. Real estate can be volatile, maybe less volatile, but it's still, I mean, volatility happens, right? And so fooling yourself into thinking that like you can handle any like amount of exposure to this data is actually counterproductive, right? And it's almost counterintuitive because you think like, oh, if I'm staying on top of things, that's a good thing. But the reality is, if you're planning on holding that investment for a certain period of time, you really need to limit your frequency of exposure to it. Because if you keep looking at it, you're going to make a rash decision that is separate from your longer term, like, hey, I'm planning on having this for a certain amount of time. So it doesn't really matter if it goes up and down right now because I'm not planning on selling it anytime soon. So that's something to just think about and caution yourself around is am I looking at the data too much? Am I making myself crazy? And only you can answer that. Again, I can't say this enough. Like, you have to play your own game, right? If you can look at every day and it doesn't bother you and you're fine with it, great. If you find yourself freaking out and making yourself miserable around certain investments because you're looking at them so often, that's probably a cue that you are looking at them too often, or you haven't defined exactly how long you want to have that investment, right? Because most investments are not forever, right? Most investments have a certain time frame around them. And so maybe you didn't know what that time frame was when you first bought the investment. That's totally valid, right? I've done that before in many ways. But if you're having that frequency of exposure, then you need to figure out, what is my actual timeline on this, and what is my exposure to this? Like, how often do I want to spend any kind of mental time thinking about this? Because I guarantee you'll make sounder decisions if you do that. Because, well, I can't guarantee you anything because you're your own person, right? So you're going to do whatever you're going to do. I can't guarantee your own actions. But what I can say is, for myself, I have found that but limiting my exposure to the data on certain investments based on the time preference I have for that investment has really saved me a lot of heartache. So I hope that helps. If you have questions on real estate, on crypto, on investing, please reach out. I'm always happy to chat with you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.